Welcome to the Messy Success Podcast, where we are shining a light on being successful in an unconventional way, while juggling all of the things that go along with being a busy parent and running a successful business. My name is Tracy French, and I am your host. I lost my spot. The writing is too small. I need glasses. I'm so sorry. I really screwed that up.
Do you remember what I said before we started?
Don't.
Yeah, you freaking jerk face.
Maybe you need to let Jim read.
Okay, now let's see how good you are and put this together from where I left off.
I'm that good.
Okay. All right, go. I am a mom, wife, real estate agent, real estate investor, and real estate team leader. Over the past 8 years, I have sold nearly 700 homes and over 75 million in volume. Success in life doesn't always have to look the same, and I am here to prove that to you. Let's get started. Hello, welcome back, guys.
What's up?
We are this is episode 4 of the Messy Success with, what is it? What are we called? Messy Success with Tracy French and Friends. That's what we're called. Today, I am super excited. I've got my homie, Matthew Hoagland, sitting with us today.
Hoagie Bear.
Thank you. Thanks
All
for
right.
having me.
I've got you a little intro here. I'm going to read it. So it says, welcome Hoagie to the show.
It's a great intro.
So Matt is a local real estate agent, team leader like myself, and he is also REMAX Hall of Fame recipient. He is a top producer in Louisville. He has a heart of gold, and I call him my real estate brother.
Wow.
Aw,
That's impressive. You're making me blush.
good. You really are. We talked about that this past week. We think that's partly why you and I are successful is because of we wear our heart on our sleeve, and we really, really care about people.
That's right.
I also wrote some notes down here. I want to jump right into it because we've talked about this. Oh, wait, Jim's here.
Yes. Hey, my name is Jim Hill. I'm here as well, creating Messy Success with Tracy French, sitting right across from you.
Thank you, Jim.
You are welcome.
Sorry, I'm still new at this, y'all. All right, so we have talked about in a couple episodes now different things about being successful, how to juggle family and all of that good stuff. So it's not just with the moms. So Hoagie is obviously not a mom. He's a dad. He's successful. And his daughter, was it Lucy?
It's Lucy.
Lucy said something to him about a week and a half ago or whatever, right before we went to our summit in Dallas. And he said, actually, I want you to tell the story.
Well,
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, yeah. So we had just got back from vacation, and I was turning around to go to the Success Summit with you guys like the next morning. So we got in Monday early, and Lucy looks at me. I'm playing on our phone, and the kids are sitting right next to me. They're like, Dad, why do you work so much, or why are you always on your phone? And it's something that's really been pulling on me of late. Because, you talk about trying to be a dad and be successful in real estate. Like, it's really hard.
Mm-hmm.
Your phone is your light, like, that's your connection to everything from communication to, getting a document sent to somebody. I mean, you're connected in so many ways to people through your phone, and sometimes it's hard to just turn that off.
Yeah. So, but Lucy made a specific suggestion to you.
She did. Yeah. She basically said, hey, Dad, how about, from 8 a.m. to 7:30 p.m., you can get a hold of my dad. But after that, he'll get back to you the next day. And yeah,
I thought it kind of reminded me of, we talked about a couple episodes ago where my daughter, when she was a little bit younger, said, I wish you weren't a realtor so you could spend more time with us. But it's coming from the same place. So, but how old is Lucy?
She's 10.
She's 10. So coming from a 10-year-old to notice, not just to notice, but to offer like a pretty wise suggestion on a way that you can still have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah.
So
that was pretty brilliant. And then we go to the
awesome.
Success Summit, and I get inspired with something very similar to that, as well.
Yeah. So let's talk about the Tom Ferry Success Summit. All of us attended that in Dallas this past week. Had a lot of fun. Jim.
What? I was just going to say it was very successful.
It was, wasn't it?
Indeed, it was.
Jim gets the karaoke prize. If only you all, you should let me post it.
I don't think you should post the entire thing, but you're welcome to. Sure. I mean, it's so funny. If you when and if you post this, there are going to be so many of my cheerleading friends over the past 2 decades that are going to hysterically die laughing because as I told this story when I sang this song, I believe in a thing called love.
Go ahead.
I've been doing
Go
this.
ahead.
No, not right now. Not enough time in the day. I've been doing this probably since 2003. I think the song came out in 2002. But yeah, I'm a one-hit wonder.
It was hilarious.
That was fantastic.
But what was one thing that, let's start with you, Jim.
Mm-hmm.
Out of the 3 days that we were there, what would you say? And we're not going to get too far into it. I don't want to put you all to sleep. But I do want to know what was one thing that you took away or your favorite part of the week.
Oh, man, there were so many.
There were. I
But
agree.
there's this one saying that they kept saying over and over and over again. And anybody who's listened to Tom Ferry for years is probably going to say, yeah, that they've heard this too. But the saying is, are you interested or are you committed?
That's in my notes.
Ah, ta-da. See, I didn't see your notes before
You did
this.
not.
I did not. No, but are you interested and committed? And while that is so applicable to real estate, because you have to be committed. You can't just be interested in this game of this world of real estate that we're in. You have to be fully committed because there's just so much more than just say, oh, this is a nice house. It's got great curb appeal. It's so much more than that.
Right.
So yeah, that. But I feel like even outside of real estate, in real life, like the choices that we make, the older that we get, you're never promised tomorrow. So like, are you interested in what you're doing? Or are you committed to what you're doing?
Right.
No matter what it is. I think it's very important.
Yeah, I think that could go along with, when people ask me how I've done what I've done. And I think it's because I have been committed. I've been committed to making this real estate thing work, but also committed to making the family side work too. Both equally take just as much effort and time. What do you think, Hoagie, about the week?
Well, I mean, you kind of already touched on it there at the beginning, but you remember Michelle Poehler, the speaker?
Is she the one that was dancing?
She
No.
was.
Yeah.
She was like your spirit animal.
Dude, she was totally my spirit animal.
But anyway, she did her, what was it, 100-day challenge. She faced 100 fears. And something that she encouraged us all to do was, hey, find something that maybe is either a fear or a struggle and take 100 days and commit to that. So what I am doing, or what I've started since I've returned, is to go along with your, what Lucy was talking about, is taking 100 days, being present with my family for 1 hour a day. They obviously deserve much more than that.
Sure.
But 1 hour a day with my phone in a closet, in a drawer, and just being present with my family.
I love that. That's a good one.
Yeah.
So what day are you just starting?
I'm on day 3.
I love it. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Because that's harder than, I know that if I forget my phone somewhere or if I leave the house and I start to have some sort of anxiety about it. And I think that that's a really good way. It'll force you. And I think at the end of the day, you'll realize, you know what, you'll probably continue because the world's not going to end.
Right.
Everything that happens within that hour can be tended to. You know what I mean? And if it's in a family emergency, obviously, they know your wife.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, and yeah, to your point too, the whole being anxious. Like I was sitting outside on my deck and the kids we were playing restaurant and they were bringing us food, fake food, whatever.
Aw.
And I just couldn't, I'm sitting there thinking what's going on with my phone?
Did you have to send the food back to the kitchen?
I did. I actually did. It's funny. I did because they brought it with a hair and I said this is unacceptable.
Protein.
Tell 'em to get their ish together.
You know, it's so
It was
funny.
fun, though.
It's funny you say this. So obviously, not to divert from the story, but so when my career change happened, you know, a year ago, my son, who is 7, he'll turn 8 at the end of this month. One thing he said to me, I used to travel all the time for my previous job. I'm talking 6-7 months out of the year I was on the road. And it's funny, we're here and a weekend or 2 or 3 passed and I hadn't gone anywhere. My son said, Dad, why are you here so much?
Oh,
And I was
wow.
like, ouch. He's like, no. I'm glad. He's like, but are you going anywhere anytime soon? I was like, no, buddy. Daddy's work has changed now, but it's,
Oh, wow.
it's funny. Yeah.
Well, I guess they became accustomed to
They being
that's just
gone.
the way things. And your
Mhm.
kids you've been doing that career since their
their
whole life.
their entire life. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
all they knew.
Wow.
So now I'm here and him at 7. Well, he had just turned 7 at the time. So he'll turn 8 at him. But yeah, at 7 years old, he says, Dad, why are you home so much?
Wow.
And I was like, I mean, I can leave. It's like, no. So, anyways,
Aw.
That's cool.
So I don't know why I was taking notes for the podcast and I had them in the notepad of my phone, and then you know how you can email the version, and I didn't even realize this was at the top, and I probably put this in there before we even started actually recording a couple months, however long ago. It says weird things I do. Put things in the microwave. Put things in the microwave for 18 seconds or 8 seconds instead of like 20 or 10. I don't know why I wanted y'all to know that, but apparently I did because it printed out on my podcast notes.
So either we're going to be fully cooked or not cooked at all at your house.
Like why? And I do it every single time. It's almost like I think 20 seconds might be a little too much, so we're going to go with 18. Y'all don't do that?
I just hit the number 1. Put
Like
it
the
on there
1
for a
minute?
minute, and if I need 20 seconds, I'll stop it at 40.
Okay. Well, I'm glad
So
we
it's a little
discussed that today.
different.
I want to. Oh, so this is still. Oh, you know what? So here's the thing. Every week, Andrew with the podcast will send me an email and he's like, "Hey, I need you to fill this out and tell us what your podcast is about this week." And every time I get stressed out, and I'm like, I don't know. Like real estate comes super easy for me, and I think I've talked to you about this. Like this podcast has brought on. It makes me have to think, and it challenges me. So this time when I submitted the email or filled out the little form, I said, okay, this podcast, this week is going to be about how not having something to talk about is giving me something to talk about. So I kind of wanted to touch on that about, you know, people are I talk about the whole real estate game and, you know, I've got it. I don't really have any issues with that. But I think how some people struggle with real estate, I'm struggling with this podcast. So it's like I've almost closed your ears back there in the studio. I've thought about, do I really want to keep doing this? Because it's
Yes.
but it's challenging me. And Jay was like, no, you need to step out of your comfort zone. If it's making you uncomfortable, that's a good thing. And it does. So I don't know. Let's talk about fear. 100 Days of Fear. This is one of my fears, like failing. Not, you know, are people going to listen? I think.
Well, that's you said it earlier. Like you care about and you want to provide good content for people to actually listen to.
Yeah.
So I get that as well. So
do you get that way? Like, because I didn't say this. Hoagie also has his own podcast.
Yeah.
What's it called?
real life and real estate. So it's very similar.
So do you struggle with that too? Like, what am I going to talk about, or worry that I don't want to say worry, but like, is anybody going to listen?
I don't worry. Yeah, no, I do think about that. I think about that a lot. Like, is anybody really paying attention to this? And Tony, my co-host, does a great job with like pushing out content and that kind of thing. So I've kind of like broken it into seasons, so to speak. So we finished our first go round, and we're actually getting ready to start it up here soon.
Season 2.
Season 2.
What's it called? You gonna have like
It's the same.
I mean, I know the title is the same, but is there a different like?
We're still working on that.
All right, see, same.
But it is like it is going to come, and I think it also it helps us to kind of refresh and get our ideas and stuff together, because what we kind of did that first season was we brought in guests. We obviously had Jay come in. We had some investors come in, but it's really more geared towards real estate related stuff. So.
Yeah. And I thought if I tried to, so the more I think I'm trying to stay away from real estate, I keep coming back to it. And I think it's because it's what I know. It's my comfort zone. So I'm really, because I didn't want to put it out there to where it would box me in. So it's like I'm trying to expand, but my comfort zone is making me like, you know what I mean? Am I making sense? Anywho.
Oh, absolutely.
Because again, I'm looking over here at my podcast notes and it's like all about real estate again.
I think it depends on what your definition of fear is. Like, are you scared of failing, or do you take what some would perceive as failure? Do you allow yourself to fail, or take it as a learning experience and how you can do better the next time?
Yeah, I should. That's why I'm going to keep going.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking the more I do it, the more, I don't know, but I truly thought it would be easier to come up with things to talk about. Because, I mean, I think most people's family lives, you feel like you could potentially be your own reality show at some point or another. But it's like formulating that into words and without making your kids sound like devils and things. I'm like, I'll talk about what happens in my household every day, or my kids who are nice to
Angels.
everyone but me.
Well, and I think too, we were talking about Summit, so I think this will help you as well. Being yourself.
Yeah.
Being unapologetically Tracy French, authentic, that's real. And like you find the people that, I mean, you've already done this naturally out of the gate when you started in real estate. You were on Facebook, you were like killing it, and people, like, you attracted the people that wanted to work with you. And that's, I mean, I think that's kind of what you're going to do with this podcast.
Yeah. And I was surprised when it first aired. I did get so many direct text messages from people that I know, and they were so nice. I was like, oh my gosh. Like, and one in particular is a past client friend of mine. And she was like, I knew that's why you were my girl. Like, I wish I had where's my phone? Oh, it's in my legs. Hang on.
Gonna edit that out.
Yeah, you don't have to edit it out. It's messy. It's fine. Leave it in, Andrew. No, just so many people that were like, that was so good. Like, one of my longtime childhood friends who I actually almost sent it to her, because she's one of those friends that she's always going to be real with you and tell you the truth, whether it's what you want to hear or not. The fact that she really enjoyed it, and I don't know, that made my day. So if any of you all are listening and want to send me a text message and tell me how much you love it, please do. It's fine. Go ahead, Jim. What do you got?
Nothing. No. It's, well, I've always got something to say. My wife says all the time, you can be quiet every once in a while if you'd like. No, it's funny. I was talking to my mom on the way in, and she's like, so when's this messy podcast coming out?
Oh, that's so cute.
And I said, well, it's already out. She's like, no, the one that you're on. I said, well, I think the second episode gets released today.
This morning.
Yeah. She's like, can you send me the link? And I was like, yes, I'll send you the link, Mom. So we may have a following down in North Carolina here at some point. So we'll see what happens.
About. So because I did take these notes, let's go ahead and talk about it anyways, even though it is real estate related. Jim, you're kind of new, sort of. But I had Crystal new to the team.
Right.
I was talking to her, and I realized that anyone who is listening that is in sales or in real estate, I think this would be really beneficial to them. So those who are new or just learning the business, I kind of want to, remember that your client or your customer doesn't have to know that you're new. And I think that I'm hoping that it's really helping Crystal in the beginning, because I think that's a fear that a lot of agents have, or even whether it's, real estate, insurance, whatever it is that you do, it can sometimes be intimidating, and it's hard to pick up that phone because you're not very confident in yourself yet. But if you just truly put all of that aside and remember the person on the other end of the phone, if you get a lead that comes in and you make that call out, they truly have no idea that you've been in the business for 20 years or 20 days. So I think if you get rid of that, and then, but on the flip side of it, when you're an agent working deals, I don't think that you should be afraid to tell the agent on the other side that you are new. You know what I mean? I think that's also very intimidating. But it's been a few years now, but I don't remember who the agent was. But I remember when they called me, maybe to tell me they were going to send an offer on one of my listings. And they said, I just want you to know I'm brand new at this. Be patient with me. So if there's any advice you have or any tips along the way, I'm all ears. And I have had so much respect for that person. So I'm like, that will set the tone. Because again, I know some of us look up how long someone's been in the business or how many deals they have pending, if they tick us off or make us mad or whatever.
Yeah.
But don't you think that if someone is very upfront with you in the beginning, that you're going to be a little easier on them or maybe help them along the way and not be so, does that make sense?
Yeah. Absolutely. I think for me in particular, because I've called you, Tracy, numerous times. I'm like, can I say this? Am I allowed to say this? Like, I'm still learning this guy, and still just almost a year anniversary. What's today? Today's the 10th, 11th? 12th. 10 days. 10 days to the official.
Oh, we have to celebrate
1 year anniversary of my license.
Karaoke, anyone?
Yeah, we can do that. But no, for me in particular, and I've said this numerous times, the black and white, like, you knowing exactly what you're getting yourself into. I may not like what I hear on the other side. However, if I know going in, whatever the expectation is, mm-hmm. or the opinion, or so to speak, whatever the subject may be, if I know going in, it's easier to deal with those things, even if I don't like the outcome, even if I don't like the process. If I know it going in versus some big surprise, I think it's definitely more helpful.
Right.
Well, I was going to say too, like, for me, you said you wear your heart on your sleeve.
Mm-hmm.
Like, me being transparent has helped me more than it's ever hurt me.
I believe that.
Like, just being candid, being my genuine self, like, that's worked in my favor more than it has ever hurt me.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think that it probably helps us win deals along the way. If people know that we're easy to work with and, we're likable and we're not going to be honest, a deal in real estate can go, the agent you choose matters.
Absolutely.
That was in my notes too for your intro and I skipped over it. So that is Hoagie's tagline, the agent you choose matters. But it's true because the agent that you are working with could make or break a deal.
Well, and you can tap, if you're in a multiple offer situation.
Yeah.
The agent, you've got a handful of agents and you're like, man, I've worked with this person before.
Mm-hmm.
It's ultimately going to be the seller's decision which offer they take, but that matters, to what you're saying, how the transaction is going to go from start to finish, from the communication, from, just working with each other is going to make a big difference. But it also, the purpose of the slogan is, when you're looking to buy or sell a house, the agent that you choose does matter.
Yeah.
Because, there's just a lot that can go on. There's a ton of moving parts in a real estate transaction.
What is the most crazy deal you've ever, Jim, let's start with you. A deal that you've had that has just been, let's just say, memorable. It can be memorable in a good way or not so good way. And Jim's only been in the business for a year, and I will tell you, he's got some doozies already. But what?
Jeez. I took a long pause there to be able to give you the opportunity to
Let's
edit
talk
this.
about Miss C.
Oh my gosh, Miss C. Okay, yeah. Let's talk about Miss C. Miss C came to me, and from the jump, again, this was early on in when I first started, early
Yeah.
on in my career. And it's still early in my career, but like early in my career.
Like within the first month.
Right. She came to me. So here I am, trying to do everything I can to get this, airplane off the ground, to get flying, get that 30,000 feet just to, soar. And so I get this lead that comes in and, she seems very, very intent on buying. She seems to have all her ducks in a row, seems to know exactly what it is she wants. So we find a house. She's like, absolutely. This is the perfect one. This is the one. We're going to do this. We get it under contract, put an offer in, we get it under contract. Within an hour of that first contract, she's calling me to rescind. And then she's telling me, she said, I've looked over the seller disclosures, which she had for 2 or 3 days, because I sent her to them, before we saw the house. Air conditioning needs to be replaced. Water heater needs to be replaced. All these things need to be replaced. All of these things, mind you, were in seemingly perfect working order at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But all of a sudden, I had what seemed to be an HVAC expert, a plumbing expert, a electrical expert on the other end telling me how things needed to be. And so here I am, again, still brand new in this, and I'm trying to go above and beyond to give her everything she wants, and I'm trying to help her understand that, hey, look, if all these things work, there's no way. This is before inspection too, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
If all these things work, there's no way that, we can request, but there's no way that a seller is going to replace something that's working perfectly fine. Let's just wait for the inspection, yada, yada. So long story short on that one, inspection happens. She wants to get out. Then we get into another deal.
Contract number 2.
This deal specifically, I think it was 20 or 25 years ago, where this specific property was located was in a floodplain. This property, the contractor who built this property came in, brought in a bunch of fill dirt, elevated the land, got an official survey, determined, raised the property out of the floodplain. There's an official document, I think it's called a LOMA document or something like that, from FEMA, Department of Homeland Security. The property was not in a floodplain anymore.
Right.
Mind you, this is a second floor condo that she's looking at. And she is determined that this place is in a floodplain. And I said, Miss C, it is not. It is not in a floodplain. Here's the she's like, well, this website over here says it is. And I said, well, that website's incorrect. I said, I don't know what to tell you. I said, here's the official document from our government that says it's not. Well, I want out of the contract. She cancels the inspection on me. This is at like 5 a.m. She sends an email. I'm sorry, I'm not awake at 5 a.m. unless I'm flying somewhere and the flight's at 6. Like, that's just not what I do. So she cancels the inspection. She's like, you need to fight for me to get my earnest money back. So she didn't get her earnest money back on that one. But here I am, trying to help this lady, going above and beyond. And early on in the career, I'm like, I've got to have this sale. I've got to have this sale. Mind you, this was not going to be a high commission sale. And you and I talked about this.
Yeah. I'm going to jump in really quick. And I firmly believe that my whole thing with this scenario was that Jim was doing everything in his power, and the client was not appreciative. There were a couple of times where she was downright disrespectful. That is what, and anyone who's listening, I don't care how new you are in any business, no check or dollar amount is worth you being disrespected and not appreciated. I firmly believe that, because I told him more than one occasion. Now, remember, Jim, if you all listened to the previous podcast, Jim was in a situation where kind of sink or swim. He had lost his job. And so he had that mentality of, no, I'm going to make it work. I'm going to make it work, which I appreciated. But again, you got to draw the line somewhere. And I'll just fast forward that there was a deal number 3 and a deal number 4, correct?
And
she
5.
Went, 5 contracts with one person. None of them worked out. And finally, Jim separated himself from that situation. But it all came down, and I think she realized, because I think that she had been through multiple realtors.
She had been under 4 contracts prior to me.
Yes. So
according to her.
And she really had it made with Jim. He was fighting for her. He was doing everything he could. But again, I think finally you separated, and she even wanted to come.
She attempted to come back. She emailed me, and I said, I just, out of respect, I just feel like it's time for you to find somebody else to work with.
Yeah, because I don't even know if I told you this. She had also emailed me saying your agent is not doing this, which I knew better. But anywho, it doesn't matter what the situation is. You're always going to come out ahead if you just do the right thing. It's not worth being stressed out and disrespected and not appreciated. So, but let's move. What do you got for me, Hoagie?
It's really crazy because I've had a lot.
Tell us how long you've been in the business, because for those who don't know.
Going on 8 years in February. So I've closed somewhere just a little over 400 houses. So that's a lot of transactions to like.
Daggone, that's a lot.
Well. So like when I get past something, like it's almost like my brain just forgets about it. Like how.
It's like childbirth.
Yeah.
When you get through it, you forget how bad it hurts.
I wouldn't know.
Well, so I tease with my wife, like she remembers everything that I've ever done. Mostly bad. but like, and I'm the opposite in that way. So like if I go through something that's either just a pain in the ass or just, I've kind of forgot. So I'm going to give you a quick story that's actually something that's happened not that long ago. But so I had clients, sweetest young couple, buying a house, first house. They're relocating here to Louisville. And we get it under contract, and then they go to Google and they find that there's a business affiliated with this address.
Oh, so I know the story.
So they look at the business and they decided to call them, and they call the business and like, are you at this address? And they were like, well, yeah, that's us. And apparently that business was shut down 10 years ago, but the business name and everything was still attached to that address on Google. So I get a call from the listing agent a few days later, and she says, hey, I just want to give you a heads up. This is kind of weird. Your clients are calling my seller. I'm like, well, that's not like them. Like they're young, naive. Like they're not the type to like go around and just like start going around and calling people without, even telling me that they're doing it type of thing. And I was gone, to be honest. I was out of town. So I said, well, let me talk to them and I'll see what's going on. So apparently the reason that they called is because they wanted the business taken down off of Google. What had happened was when they sold this business, somebody had bought their domain that was attached to this business, and that domain was some kind of Asian pornography site.
Oh,
that was attached to their website.
Well, there you go.
So I knew that was coming.
Attached to their. So anyway, yeah, it's kind of goofy things that happen, and then obviously I smoothed that over, and everybody's good. But I think I'd definitely be calling as well if something like that was attached to my address.
That's hilarious.
There's so many things I would normally say that I'm not going to say right now.
Well, yeah. Well, and it's something that even
give him another bourbon.
Yeah, a mentor of mine, like when I first got started, said something to me, and it's held true. He said, every day is something different.
True.
In real estate, like it's you. Even if you think you know everything or you're ready or prepared, like there is something new every single day that you just can't prepare for. That's
so true. I am going to, so I've also been in for 8 years. And my first, I would say it's probably the first year and a half, maybe in the business, I listed my dad's friend's house. And it was a house that had, the garage was just as big as the house, and it had a big apartment above on the top. And the buyers, I can remember they were cash buyers. My seller had already halfway moved to the lake, but he worked here in town, so he was still living in the house Monday through Friday. And I can remember I got a phone call from my seller and said, there is an HVAC company over here replacing my furnace. Like, that is not the biggest, the most shocking thing. It's the fact that the buyer's agent, and of course I will never say who it is, made a copy of the key in the lockbox, copied the key. Not only did she copy the key, she gave a copy of the key to the HVAC company and said, my people are going to replace the AC. Go ahead and replace it.
Oh my.
And the HVAC company replaced the entire furnace AC unit in the garage and in the house before we even closed.
But did it close?
It did close.
Good.
And
Yikes.
it was crazy because the buyer's agent, her son is an attorney. And I'm like, why would you think that making a copy of someone's house key and giving that to a contractor is acceptable? That's still probably the most bizarre thing that has happened to me.
Bold.
Yeah, totally bold. So I wanted to go ahead and jump to the question of the week, because we forgot to do that last week.
I think it's question of the month right now, but we'll go. We'll catch up.
That works too. So this one is a question coming from my pal Teresa Wallace, who is also a realtor in our office.
What's up, T-Dub?
So Teresa wanted to know, how do you stay so chill with a million things going on? I thought that was a good question. Go ahead.
It's all the money's in the bank.
I'm just kidding.
That's all the money's in.
That helps. That definitely helps. So I don't know when I became
Stone Cold
easygoing. But to me, it's pretty simple. I mean, there are any day of the week, there are, sorry, did you hear that? There's a million things going on, whether it be with kids, household, work. And I always just, don't get me wrong, the one thing that can get me worked up are my kids. They know how to push my buttons. But for the most part, I always just feel like if it's something that I have no control over, I'm not going to let it weigh me down. And in my adult life, I've noticed that I have become pretty good at that. For example, when we came back from Dallas, my son picked me up from the airport, and he's in the middle of taking his insurance. Kind of like us as realtors, we have to do all the schooling, and then we go take this state exam or whatever. So he's doing that for insurance right now, and he was really frustrated and getting himself worked up because he's like, I've been really studying all of these questions at the end of each section, and like then I go to take the practice test, and it's none of the questions that were on the quizzes were there. So he's like, I failed. And he has anxiety in it. And I'm like, look, all you can do is what you can do. You can't, if you fail it, retake it. It's not like it's a one and done type thing. But I noticed that it's not easy for him. And I think that's common for a lot of people. My mom, sometimes I hear her getting kind of like worked up over things, and I'm like, just, chill out, simmer down. If you can't physically do anything about it yourself, why let it become a part? Why let it, affect your mood? Or, for example, real estate deals. How many times have you had a deal where the closing was delayed for one day, and the other side, or even your own clients, feel like it's the end of the freaking world?
Yes.
I don't understand. I had a really good friend of mine when we were away in Dallas. I open up Facebook and I read that she just lost her husband. Like, out of nowhere, one minute he's here and the next he's gone. Those are the things that you need to worry about. Those are the things that should really affect your day. And when you think about that, it's like, you go to the trivial things that people let take over. It's like, is anyone dying? No, that house is still going to be there tomorrow. It's still going to be there in 5 days. All of you are healthy. Your kids are healthy. Like, don't sweat it. And I truly think that if you force yourself, again, for me, I don't know that I've always been like that. I think you and I have had conversations before, maybe in Dallas, where I was like, dude, Hoagie, quit letting her get to you. We're not going to talk about what it was.
Yeah.
But it was a good question, Teresa, but I really do feel like I don't know if it's a learned thing or, I just feel like there's so much more important things to do. If I have 15 pendings, I can only do what I can do. I can make sure that I'm, following up with everyone and lenders have what they need. Clients' questions are answered. But other than that, like that's all you can do. And whether or not you let it stress you out or not, the outcome is still the same. So you might as well do it with a smile on your face.
That'll preach.
Or a bourbon in your hand.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, so that's the real question. How do you do it without
Good
medicinal
question.
efforts?
I know. My husband has said that so many times. Like, I don't know how you have not been drove to drinking yet. And I tell him, well, one of us has to be sober.
We
No.
tried to drive her to drink last week.
I don't know. I really don't. I mean, there's definitely occasions where I could probably use a drink or something, but
Don't do it.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not.
No, and that's really
It's
impressive.
too expensive.
It is expensive. You'll have less money in the bank.
Unless you're Tracy's
Yeah.
husband.
I was going
who
to say,
has, like,
have you seen my
a
basement?
bank of liquid in her basement.
Yeah. So do you find that you are I've talked you off of some
Oh, yeah.
ledges before. Like, but do you think that, have I been helpful?
Oh,
like
yeah.
sometimes you just gotta like,
So for me in particular, I feel like there's a lot of similarities between you and I. I'm one of those people. I feel like I'm one extreme or the other. I feel like I've got a pretty long fuse, but by the time my fuse is completely burnt out, then it's like a crisis. And I think that comes from, my personality too, where I'm, my emotions are always on my sleeve, because I'm a people pleaser. I like to make people happy. I like to, in this world of real estate, it's been so gratifying over the past almost year, to watch people who never thought they could own or buy a house. And then to see it come to fruition at the closing table and see the emotion. And then we take the picture, because I got to get my content, my social media.
Of
I
course.
got to get that going on. But to truly watch that process, but then to be able to, calm the water, so to speak, when like, are we really going to be able to do this? Is this really going to happen? Like, for example, this one client here recently who, when I was able to start working with them, had lost out on 3 prior houses with other agents. I truly don't know who they worked with. But then when we got to the closing table, him and his wife both said, man, I wish we would have met you sooner. And I'm like, yeah, that would have been great. However, we wouldn't have gotten this house, which
Right.
you've stated is the one that has been better than all the other ones that you lost. So to your point about, controlling what you can control, if there's anything that the last year and a half, 2 years has taught me, is that I am in 0% control.
mm-hmm.
I can handle the day to day. We're obviously, not to be cliche, we're not promised tomorrow. I think that's the second time I've said that in this recording, but handle today.
Yeah.
And once today is over, if we're lucky enough to wake up tomorrow, then we'll handle that.
Yep.
And it's just, you almost have to be that way in this industry. I think the people that are successful, that are really good at it, on some level, have to be able to have that kind of focus. Some are better at it than others.
Yeah.
But if you're worried about tomorrow, then you're missing out on all the things that are right in front of you. You got to take care of today.
Yep.
So,
Well, what now?
This was good.
I don't know what to say now. I'm all dried up.
I don't know what to do with my hands.
Well, fortunately, this is a podcast and not radio. So
Yeah, because I knew
we
that
can put
you
our
would
heads
just
together and
I'm just wanting to give you more stuff to edit, so they keep you around here and give you something to do.
I appreciate the job security, Tracy. Thank you.
I'm trying to think.
We got to figure out a way to end it because then you'll turn that music on and then I got to walk us out of here.
Well, try to recap, and we can take a moment to come up with this, but we can recap 2 or 3 of the main points.
Where's Tony at? Jim, close me out.
What do you want?
Tony
So
closes
do we
me out.
want
You're
to?
the Tony of messy success.
Oh
Come
my
on.
goodness, I can't be Tony. He's got a luscious beard. He really does. He's got more hair in his face than he does on his head, but that's a different story. I like Tony.
Places.
No, this is good. No, but here's the deal. At the end of the day, obviously this podcast is called Messy Success, and I think it's it's very telling, the experiences that we have, the messes that we find success in on a daily basis in real estate, that translate to our real life, that translate to our friends and family around us, and it's not just what makes us successful in real estate. I think it kind of helps us a little bit successful in life.
Right.
And then you see people around us that are watching us, and then like your friend that texted you after the first episode that, told you how great you are. Like, well, we all see that. I mean, you may not have that level of confidence in yourself all the time, but, I've had people reach out to me, that I worked with previously and like, holy crap, you're really doing this. And I'm like, well, yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, how? And I said, well, I made a decision, and that this is the path that I chose to take. There wasn't another option. I got a family to feed.
Right.
And at the end of the day, I don't do things half-ass. Pardon my language. Sorry, Mom, if you're listening, but I don't do things halfway.
Mm-hmm.
If I commit to do something, I'm committed. I'm not just interested, to tie it back into what I said in the beginning.
Right.
I'm committed. Now, if I'm interested, then I stop doing it, because if it's not going to get all of me, then it's going to get none of me. So, and I think that's one of the reasons why, I've chosen to start a cheerleading business too, but we can talk about that on the next podcast.
Yes, we will. No, I think that's, and again, back to how we kind of started this conversation in the beginning. That's what's making me uncomfortable, because all of the things that I've done throughout my life, I feel like I've been really good at, but probably because the ones that I were not good at, I was interested, I backed off. So I don't know. I guess we will see. I'm not going to give up on this. I'm going to keep going. Hopefully you guys keep listening, and we'll keep coming up with content, surely through Jim's family and my wacky children, and we'll bring Hoagie on a few more times in the future. We can come up with that content. Indeed, for you all. And again, the main thing for me is I want to be relatable. I want to talk about things that you guys, that are going on in everyone's lives, and we're not perfect, we're messy,
but we're successful.
So thank you guys for tuning in to episode number 4. Jim is going to be singing karaoke for us next time, but until then, thanks for joining.
See you later.
Say bye, Hoagie.
Bye. Say.
So tell me what should
I
I
was
do?
just saying, like, hey, if you have a guest, like when you're closing it, just say, hey, we just want to say thanks again to our
I
guest.
know, I didn't
That's why
thank Hoagie for
that's
joining
okay.
us.
And that's
Yeah, I
why
was gonna say, I heard him giving you some good advice. If you want, we can just re-record like that basic segment.
Are we still recording?
I want to thank,
We're early. We don't ever end this early, but I think it's good. I don't want it to be too long. People stop.
that was good. Yeah.
Do you want to?
yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, let's.
That way you can close it. Put a
Yeah.
bow on it the way you want.
A cheerleading bow.
Cheerleading bow.
They're too big.
The bigger, the better.
Gosh. They are too big.
Just kidding.
Like some of them I've seen, like I remember, like they're almost as big as their whole back of their cranium.
And they put them right here on their foreheads.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, no, it's disgusting.
It's precious. What do you mean?
All right. Do you want me to roll the music and you can just kind of?
Yep.
And I'll sync everything.
Oh, I know.
So yeah,
He'll make us look like a professional.
less messy.
Less messy.
More success.
Dude, this camera's a lot more clear than the other one as well.
You like our new camera system?
For sure.
Yeah, me too.
Like this is like motivating me to get back in here.
Your all's face must be the lighting
This was
because
all
your
part of our
all's
plan,
faces have like just the perfect amount of glow.
Well,
Like along, you look like you have on highlighter on your nose.
for me, it looks like I'm shirtless until you see the seams. But it's good that I'm not shirtless because nobody wants to see that.
We don't want that messy success.
No, that's a lot more messy than success.
Tracy's got her
Same.
messy with express jeans on.
I know, and from the side, I need like a pillow right here to hide my
It's not Sunday.
holy, holy. Matt, thank you so much for joining me on my podcast today.
You gotta start over. Jeez.
Why?
Because that was like intentionally silly. All right,
Duh.
come on. I know. Come on with it.
Hoagie, I appreciate you for coming on the podcast today and hanging out with us.
Yeah,
my favorite guest.
I appreciate you as well. Like you're doing an amazing job with this, and yeah, keep staying uncomfortable, and yeah, I think you're gonna do well. And
And
thanks
you keep
again.
pushing me and I'll keep pushing you. We'll keep
what we
killing
do.
the game.
That's
You
right.
guys can push me too while you're at it.
No, for real. Thank you guys so much. I hope you enjoyed this podcast, and we will talk to you next week.